Hey guys, I'm here with Paul Simon, partner at Hedgepeth, Heredia, a well-known law firm here in Atlanta. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing incredible. My name is Ahmad. He actually gave me the courtesy of being able to interview him today. Can't wait for it. So I want to ask you, what do you do for everybody that doesn't know?
Yeah, sure. Well, appreciate you having me on. Always a pleasure to talk to young entrepreneurial spirits. I'm a family law attorney, uh, aka domestic relations attorney, aka divorce attorney, but it's beyond divorce. It's child custody, child support, alimony, adoptions, prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements, enforcement actions. If it involves some sort of beef you have with a family member, odds are we handle
Oh wow, okay.
that. Yeah.
And why'd you actually choose that practice area?
Well, I, I knew I always wanted to do litigation. I'm competitive. I like to win. And when I came out of law school, I didn't have a job. This was back in 2013. The market was just terrible, right? And so I did these informational interviews, aka the please let me have a job sort of things. And I met with all these litigators. I met with personal injury attorneys. I met with commercial litigators. I just went around the world with it to see what I wanted to do. And then I met with these family law attorneys, and the stories they had were just incredible. And it seemed like a very vivid and interesting practice and a very challenging practice. But then every family law attorney has that one story where you did objective good. Like there's no gray about it. Like you did a very good thing. Like you got an abused spouse away from their abusive partner. You got a kid out of harm's way. Every family law attorney has that story, and I saw it as an opportunity to do challenging, interesting work that also could really mean something of consequence.
That was a good answer. I like that.
I mean, it's not a canned answer. Like people have asked me that before, and it's the truth. It's the answer. Like you know, I don't like being bored. I like being challenged. I like growing. I like improving. And you know, if I can use my talents and my skills to help people, the people who need it the most, I'm all for it. All for it.
Awesome. And would you say that that's like just talent, or would you also say that you've definitely had to build up a lot of the skill as well?
I, I've definitely been blessed with. I don't know. I don't know if it'd be EQ, right? Emotional intelligence, but I've definitely been blessed with not having met a stranger in my life and being able to communicate in a way that can grab people's attention. And then, I'm very fortunate to have a mom who's brilliant, the smartest person I know, and my dad who's very gregarious and outgoing. And I somehow got the positive traits of them and all mixed up into me. But, it does take time to develop the confidence to know that you know what you're doing and to be able to effectively portray that to people. I mean, it takes reps. It just takes reps and reps and reps. And, you got to know what you're doing on the professional side of it. And then once you gain that confidence there, putting it out for the world to see is, kind of second nature if you have the personality for it.
So, what kind of experiences have you had that kind of equipped you for what you do now?
I don't come from a broken home or anything. My parents have been married, God love them, for 42, 43 years. I've actually lost count, embarrassingly enough. Like, family's pretty good. I haven't really, I don't have any children. I've never been married or divorced or anything like that. So it's not necessarily my personal experience that drew me to this or that gives me any sort of inspiration to it. It's really just I've always felt that I have an ability to solve puzzles, to fix problems. And I was in a leadership role in my fraternity in college, a leadership role in law school, that sort of thing, because I think that I can take information and figure it out. And so it's the analytical part of it, because every sort of fact pattern is a little bit like a puzzle. Where do all the pieces fit? what pieces do you want to emphasize, what pieces do you want to kind of put a little shade on so they're not as visible. So it's not necessarily personal experience, it's just the way I think my mind works, because you have to, when you're dealing with an extremely emotional situation with people who are going through the worst thing they've ever experienced, your job is to not only be their advocate in court and to opposing counsel, et cetera, et cetera. You have to be able to be that voice of reason in your internal communications and just tell them what you think, because that's what they're paying you for. That's why they've hired you, to give the objective advice. And I tell all my clients at a consultation 2 hours ago, and I always, in my closing little spiel, I tell them, look, I'm not your friend. I'm not your family. I'm not your coach. I'm your counsel. You're not paying me to be your cheerleader. You're paying me for my advice. So if you come to me with something that I don't like, I'm going to tell you. That's my job. So it's a mixture of being analytical, being pragmatic, and being able to just be honest. It's the most important thing in this game is being able to be honest and come what may.
Do you think most attorneys are equipped to handle that, or do you think you got to, like the guy that handles injury cases and he handles a little bit of family law, are those guys equipped to handle that, or do you think you have to be just in this space?
I mean, I've always said that to be a family law attorney, you have to be a very specific amount of crazy, like in order to deal with it. Because like, when you're first starting out, you're taking it so seriously and everything's new to you. And a lot of times you'll take the work home with you. You'll take a snappy email that an opposing counsel sent you home with you, and you'll shove it right here in your chest, and you'll sit on it for the whole time, and it'll get to you. I mean, I was actually joking about this with somebody a couple weeks ago. When family law attorneys start, so let's say, a baby attorney, first year attorney, gets into family law, it's around that third year where you really decide if you're in this for the long haul after you've got it. So I won't say there's a specific type of person who is best for this, but there definitely is a certain mindset you have to have and a certain ability to compartmentalize that you have to have if you're going to have longevity in this and if you're going to be successful with this.
Okay. And do you know, like, if I'm that person, would I just know that, or would it take like, how do I know if I'm the right person for the niche?
Everyone matures at their own speed, right? Like, presumably everybody has experienced some adversity in their life by the time they graduate law school. Like I went straight through college and law school, right? So I'm 25 years old. Everyone's been through some stuff. I have a pretty good feeling for who I am, but in those first few years, I experienced things out in the working world that I hadn't experienced before. And it's just a matter of how do you diagnose issues that you're having, right? Like, how do you rationalize things? And I try to be very rational when I approach things. Like, I have a system. Something, some sort of outside stimulus happens. I get angry. I then realize that I'm angry. I don't need to do anything. I need to go to sleep. I need to take a few hours. I need to have something to eat. I need to chill out for a second, get my rational mind back.
Yeah.
And over that period of time, I'm able to come back and do it. And if you don't have that mechanism, or if you're not able to put that mechanism in place in a quick enough fashion during the point of your career, you're going to burn out, because you're constantly going to be worrying about what the next email says, what that email says, when over time you kind of realize that, especially in the family law world, when it's such a small pond, relatively speaking, we all kind of know each other or have heard of each other, that you get an email from someone and it's a little snappy. It's just business. I mean, I sent a snappy email to someone yesterday, a deservedly snappy email, and they called me today and they were like, I appreciate you sending that email. That's on me. And I'm like, listen, cool. We're good. Let's get back on track. That's just, you have to, I don't know if you ever completely know yourself, but you have to, this job, lawyering in general, will put you in situations where you have to round it into form maybe a little bit quicker than, if you were in marketing at some Fortune 500 company, right? You get put to task a little bit quicker because you are in it.
Okay. I like that answer a lot. And so I want to know this. You told me that you guys aren't doing like you guys aren't one of those law firms that market super heavily,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so most of your business, a lot of your business is referral business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know how do you build up referral business? Is it
Boots
just by
on
being
the
great at what you
ground.
do?
Boots
Okay.
on the ground. I mean, yeah, you gotta be able to, there are some people who are born marketers, right? Who can they can look around a room and decide that person's going to like me by the end of the night, and that's great. But it starts with being good at what you do and developing that confidence, because this job isn't easy, right? And once you develop that confidence, you'll have the confidence to go out and meet people. And I don't know if this is probably a reference. There's a movie from way back where the guy goes, my name's Paul Simon. Damn glad to meet me. Like, it's that confidence that you have to portray, because what I've found is that you can say anything with confidence and people tend to believe you because you're so confident, because you have to be articulate. You have to do a little bit, demonstrate a little bit of knowledge and be able to do it seamlessly. So yeah, being good at what I do, and thank you, I'm going to take it as a compliment. Being good at what I do definitely helps on the marketing side of things. And the other part that helps on the marketing side of things, like you're never going to hear an ad for Hedgepeth Heredia on the radio. You're never going to see a billboard, right? We got a website. We don't pay for SEO. We're boots on ground. I mean, just yesterday, I had a breakfast and then I had drinks. I've got a thing tomorrow. So it's constantly doing things, doing active marketing. Then there's passive marketing. If it's the weekend and I'm getting an Uber out to dinner and I happen to strike up a conversation with the Uber driver, odds are pretty high that that person's going to have my card before I get out of the car. So I don't want to say it's you don't turn off, right? Because you do turn off, but as a business person, as someone who's advancing their career, you have to recognize that, especially when you're in the people business, every person is a potential client, or every person could know a potential client. And so you have to keep that on a little bit at all times, or be ready to turn it on at least.
So you guys don't traditionally market heavily, but you're always marketing.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it. Because you never know. Here's a story for it. And this didn't result in a client for me, but it resulted in a client for a friend of mine. I was at this establishment, and there's this valet there. Valet took my car. I'm chatty. We got to chatting, and blah 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 blah. I was at that same establishment 2 nights later. I remembered the valet. Valet remembered me. We got to talking. Turns out he was in a car accident. The other driver was at fault. He didn't like his attorney. So I'm like, here's my card. Send me an email, and I'll send you some names of people that I know and trust in that field. I sent him some names. I heard back from one of the people that he hired them. So now that person who I referred the business to has got a good thought next to my name. And that guy, the valet, the guy who I gave the names to, is like, that's a solid dude. Oh, and he practices family law. I'm going to keep his card in case I hear of anything. And it was not, it was dinner. It's always marketing, but it's not going out of your way to market, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. I think the audience gets it too, because there are people that you meet all the time where you're like, yeah, I'd hire them, but they weren't talking about you hiring them.
Yeah, no, listen, part of this is telling people what you do. Mm-hmm. Hey, I met Paul at this thing the other night. He practices family law. His name is here. Oh, I got his card. Here's his card. Give him a call. Happens all the time. It's the bedrock of the business.
Awesome. Okay.
Obviously, a plug for my services. Simon mentioned.
Where can they find you?
Yeah, there you go. So, Paul Simon, practice family law, divorces, custody modifications, support modifications, adoptions, prenups, postnups, pretty much anything related to families, kids, that sort of thing. The firm is Hedgepeth Heredia. That's Hedgepeth, Heredia. We've got our website. The actual link escapes me.
I'll put the link in the description to the website.
My man. Our telephone number, 404-846-7025. And my email address is psimon@hhfamilylaw.com, psimon@hhfamilylaw.com. You tell them you saw me on this video, I'll take extra special care.
That's awesome. So you ended it with a bang. I really appreciate you. And yeah, I want to do this again soon. When you have like a big case or some big thing happen, hit me up, and then we're gonna have a good conversation again.
Hey man, every case is a big case when Paul Simon's your attorney.
Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, his information's in the description below. And yeah, have a good one.